Brian J.T. Watts is the owner and founder of the Brian Watts and Just Let Me Teach companies. During his time as an administrator and as an international instructor, he has viewed education from various vantage points. His life and professional experiences have equipped him with object lessons, logic, stories, and an appropriate humor that he utilizes to enhance presentations and connect with the audience. He is also a multifaceted educational consultant that provides seminars for parents and motivational experiences for students. Additionally, he offers classroom management, student engagement, and new faculty seminars, which are professional development seminars for teachers. As you know, he has a wide variety of services to offer, but today we are focusing on his parent seminars. There are many reasons why parents need this seminar. Schools and education has been enhanced greatly by professional development for teachers and improving students, textbooks, technology, and the list goes on and on. Unfortunately, someone forgot about informing the parents. The seminars are based off the book he authored, How to Help Your Children Help Themselves. His program will educate parents on some of the things that are going on in our schools today. He will discuss school choice, relationships with teachers, and most importantly, the relationships with your children in education. So, if you are a parent or decision maker at your school or school district, please consider hosting How to Help Your Children Help Themselves seminar. He would love to come and talk with you, and let's get the parenting back into education.
Ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? Brian J.T. Watts here again with another episode of Come Together. It's been a little while, but we are back. Today we will be talking with an old college friend of mine, Marcellus Cruz. So stay tuned. Right after the opening, we'll be right back with Marcellus Cruz.
This is the greatest game of telephone that has ever been played. Someone said the black man doesn't raise his kids or care for his family, and that message is still being told to everyone today. They even have us saying,
"We are not a monolith. We have various opinions and thoughts. We are much more than what we are portrayed to be by the media.
even when we are the victims of injustice, we are still portrayed as the perpetrators. When it comes to the black man, there is an intentional plan to discredit the past, arrest the present, and destroy the future.
Something must be done, but nothing will work until we come together. All right, it is great to have all of you viewers back this week. We are speaking to none other than Mr. Marcellus Cruz. Marcellus Cruz, how you doing, man?
I'm doing excellent, man. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good. It's starting to get a little warm, so it's feeling good. I'm cold weather, so I'm a little better now. You know,
Same here.
I holler a little now. I don't have to wrap over the scar. I'm good. But, bright colors are back, so yeah, that changes my mood.
Okay.
Makes me feel good. So look, I'm going to jump in with you because our show, as you know, is all about exposing positive black men, and we really feel like it's a necessary thing for us to do because sometimes in our media we are not portrayed as the best. So we want to do our part. Portray positive men to everybody out there, and you are one of those. So I wanted to just let people know a little bit about you. What was your career path coming out of college? What did you start getting into?
Oh wow! I went into information technology.
Okay, IT. Okay.
Yeah, I went into IT. I at first, while I was in school, I was what you called a wire puller. I pulled network cabling.
Get out of here.
Yeah. And so I was kind of one of the first in that industry. Back then I was pulling what they call twisted pair.
Okay.
You had to solder the ends.
Right.
And I was on stilts. Yeah. I was literally on stilts. You had to know how to walk up and down stairs with the stilts, and you had to pull the cabling, and wire up a server room and to computers. And so that was the first thing. But then I graduated into help desk. I would take computers apart, put them back together again. I was one of those guys who, if I came to your office and something was going wrong, I could pretty much fix it.
Okay.
And then that kind of led into help desk on software.
Right.
So I started getting my certifications. And once I got my applications masters, I was able, it didn't matter what application you were in, I was able to help you and get you going. So that's kind of where I started. Just
Wow,
helping people. Yeah.
that's wild because, all right, I had a lot of friends that were into computers and IT and stuff, and it always seemed crazy because stuff was changing so fast.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so everybody that got into it, they'd be like, "Yo, B, you got to get into this." And I'm like, I don't know, because it seems like you got to go back and get another certification and another one. And right now, C plus is big. There's no C's or no pluses, and I mean, it was a lot. And I mean, these guys, if they weren't people who liked school, then they seemed to fall off because they got certified and they were ready and they were out there making money. Then all of a sudden, this is not the thing anymore. So, like you said, you got to a point where it didn't matter what it was because you were educated enough on the whole system that no matter what they brought out now, you were good. And that's probably when it evened out.
Yeah, for me, my where I worked, you can get a certification every year.
Okay.
So I did from graphic design to programming.
Okay.
And so it didn't matter for me. Whatever I was asked or tasked to do, I was ready to do.
Did you have to take charge and make sure that you knew everything, or was it something that just seemed to come to you? Because some people say, okay, I see all these different things that I can do in this field. Let me make sure I know that. Or some people just say, hey, I'm gonna go this one route. So what was that route like for you?
My first mentor in this field, his name was Savi Tan, and he sat me down and he said, listen, you in this field, you can't be idle. You constantly have to be looking, searching what's coming out next and get on top of it. Never let me find you just idly saying, I don't know, what to do. All my work is done. This thing is, if you don't have anything to do, go get a computer and take it apart and put it back together again. Put the OS back on it. Just learn, continue to push yourself. And that kind of philosophy stayed with me. So for me, I was always, messing and playing with stuff and pushing myself to the limits. Even in programming, I would push myself. Even so, it was deep. You push yourself, and then all of a sudden, your boss says, "Hey, I need you to program something." Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't idle.
Right.
So
you were active too. Yeah, that's
right.
Good. That look, I mean, because I know I'm old enough to see the whole thing. I mean, I remember in high school there was a computer room, but we had a homeroom in there, and that's the only time we were in there. We weren't learning anything on computers.
Right.
And we had the flat, big floppy disk, which were actually floppy, not the small ones.
Right, the floppy 5, what is it, 5 and a quarter. Yeah.
Right, and the guys would come in, the computer nerds that were in my class would come in every day. Homeroom was only 15 minutes. As soon as we would get in, they'd put a disk in and they'd start typing and just lines, line 10, line 15, line 20. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Y'all are such nerds. But we was like, what are y'all doing? Why are you even bothering these computers? And in like a couple weeks, they'd come in and put their floppy disk and they'd be playing a game. And I'm like, oh, wow.
Right, there you go.
Then they were cutting disk on the other side to make it a 2-side floppy. And I was like, okay, this is crazy. And, I kept seeing stuff just go to the point where now I have a couple of computers in my house, and that's crazy. Like, these were not things that you could have in your house or that a lot of people could afford back then. And I've seen the whole gamut. I think most people my age, around my age, are seeing, wow, we've come a long way with IT. So any of you guys that are in it, it's a big thing to see y'all surviving it, because when I worked at different places, the IT guy was somebody who stayed in the room by himself and you just called him when something was wrong.
Right.
You actually have to be social characters, because when you come to fix my computer, it can't be like before where I would just move out of the way and you get down there and do your thing and never talk to me. You got to know how to sync with my phone.
Yeah.
With all my other stuff, you have to talk to me about the interfaces and everything. So it's definitely changed, and it's a big thing to see somebody like you go through it and actually still have some knowledge about what's going on, because it's a long time since that first Atom computer or the Macintosh or
Commodore 64 is what it was.
Well, that I see. I didn't even have that. So I didn't have. In fact, the ones I mentioned, I didn't have either. So yeah, by the time I got them, we was in Windows. So that's what it is. But you know, it's very good to see that somebody can survive, because I didn't know that a lot of people survived from that staying in the industry. But then I saw you had a media company. You were doing taping and things of that nature. How did you go from IT to that?
Well, okay, so I'm assuming you're referring to Cruising Technologies. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
So when I was working, I'll never forget, my big boss came to me and said, I don't see you being a lifer here. I think you're supposed to do something much bigger.
Right.
A little later on, God led me to starting my own company. Now, I have always pushed the balance. Now, before getting into IT, I was into music.
Right.
And so being into music and being into IT, it opened my mind once music started going into IT, or IT was coming to music.
Right.
So to start your studio, before it was all analog stuff, you know, the boards and the faders, all of a sudden now you got software to run and record stuff. And so for me, I was always both sides, if you think about it. So I was IT, and then I'm music.
Right.
And so as we expanded, you know, I had my first recording studio early on, by 2021.
Okay.
And so starting my own company, I said, well, I can bring all my knowledge to the company.
Okay.
So it won't just be IT doing networking and computers. We'll also integrate audio. We'll also integrate, you know, anything into multimedia stuff.
Okay.
And so if you think about it, there's very few companies that do it all.
Right.
And then we started integrating construction into it as well. So we partnered with construction companies, and before you know it, we were the whole gambit. And I realized that is what we needed. You know, a embassy called me up and they said, man, our basement flooded. I said, well, what was in the basement? I found out server room, a couple other things. And so I said, you know what, let me do it, the whole thing. And they were like, really? I mean, we trust you, but why would you say that? I said, because a construction company will come in here, they will patch, you know, tear out all the drywall, put it all back, but they won't be thinking technology. What can we do now that the walls are open? And they were like, and so we went in there, we redid their basement, but we thought, they had 2 buildings. And so I said, why don't we run, it's called a 50 pair. Let's run a 50 pair between 2 buildings so we can network both buildings.
Wow.
And because their basement was open and we was able to run that outside into the ground and into the other building, to this day, both buildings are networked. It's because of that kind of thinking. So hopefully that answers your question.
No, that's amazing, because the thing is, what I'm seeing happen to you, and I want all your viewers to pay attention to this, is you had 2 passions. You had music that you kept pushing in, singing, producing, writing, whatever it is you're doing. And you had IT that you never stopped pushing and you kept going. Never could you have thought in the beginning that those 2 things would even touch paths.
No.
But because you kept pushing in each of them, when the time came that they could be connected, boom, there you are, standing in the space where you wanted to be, with all your talents sort of meshing together. And that's something that my mom used to always say to me. She was like, I worked a lot of little jobs when I was in college. These jobs that just, extra helpers, all these temp jobs, and I worked summer jobs, all these crazy things, and they never seem to relate to each other. And she said, Brian, one day all that will come together. And you're going to all of it to do one thing that's going to be your thing. And I used to be like, yeah, whatever, Mom. And, because it seemed like they were ever going to relate, but it has started to happen. And, as a teacher and a speaker and stuff, all of those jobs now have crazy stories that I tell people, and they're like, oh, wow, what did this dude not do? And so it works. And I like to see that happen. But I know people need to push with everything, push it to the limit. I mean, I don't believe that you can't quit. Sometimes there's things you have to end. You can't do that anymore. It's over. But if you push it to the limit, when the time comes, that experience will be necessary. So I like to hear that. That's a great story. So now this is really insane. You have, because this doesn't even, I don't even know where we go here, but you went from IT and music. And I think everybody who's in the position you're in actually does this because they had to do something before. But we want to hear about that. Now you are looking to become a member of the U.S. Senate. How did that even become something you desire? Okay, that's what I want to know. I mean, I want to know where that woke up in you, where you woke up one morning and said, U.S. Senate, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hear. So tell me how that even becomes an interest.
Well, I'm gonna go back. My first year at Oakwood,
okay,
I was actually pre-law.
Wow.
Yes, a lot of people don't know that. When I transferred to WAU, what happened was because of Oakwood's system and the way it was, a lot of my credits didn't transfer to WAU properly.
Right.
And at the time, they did not really have a pre-law program.
Who did? Oakwood or
WAU?
Okay.
And so I sat down with my advisor, and he was like, it seems like, computer stuff seems to come to you a lot easier. Why do you want to be pre-law? I mean, you're an outgoing guy. I mean, I was like, well, isn't that a good thing for law? He was like, no, actually, it's you're going to be in the office most of the time. He was like, it's not like on TV, depending on what type of law you go into, it's going to be a lot different for you. And he was like, so, but why do you want to be a lawyer? And I said, well, one day I want to go into public service. And he was like, oh, wow. And so he was like, you do know you don't have to become a lawyer to go into public service. And when I thought about it, I said, you know what? He's right. So I went into IT. And at the time, later on, my roommate was in law, and we were both on this path together. And I realized, you know what? My advisor was right. It was better for me to go into IT.
Okay.
So you put that in the background with me following politics. I've always followed politics like a sport.
Okay.
Both sides. I like to understand all the arguments. And so here I am in technology, and what does technology follows? Follows all the industries, and it follows politics. I could pull up something at work real quick and easy on the internet. Wow. And so, so I've always been a part of that. I had always joked for years with my wife and with members of my company that one day I'm gonna run for governor. I'll be the first Black governor in the state of Maryland. And then here comes Wes Moore. He comes, bam, he becomes governor. And I didn't think much of it. I was just like, well, it's not my time. Right now, I'm busy building my company. But then all of a sudden, Ben Cardin, one of the senators, or one of our two senators here in Maryland, decided he's not going to run for re-election. And so I joked once again, hey, you know what? I might, maybe I should run for the U.S. Senate.
Right.
And, everybody around me, even at work, would go, well, that would be far-fetched for me to see, I was like, okay. And then my wife sits me down one day and she says, babe, I don't want you to say anything. I just want you to go and think about why you would run. I said, well, babe, I mean, it's kind of short notice for me. I already know who's running. They are, the big names, they're already out there. And she says, no, that's not what I asked. I want you to go and think about why you would run and then come back and tell me. Don't say anything. So I thought about it. And when I came back and told her why I would run, she said, then you got to run. Ain't nobody else talking about it. Nobody else is coming at the issues the way you do. And so I thought about it. I said, well, she says, well, what's next? And that's what started this process. I said, well, I do follow politics. I know what I'm supposed to do next.
Right.
And so we kind of gingerly walked towards me actually thinking about running. I mean, I say thinking about running because when you think about running, it's totally different because now you're about to pull the trigger.
Right.
But when we were just talking, it was more like, well, let me test the waters. Let me see if I would even be viable.
Right.
Everybody knows me in this space, but
Right.
let's see, how they would react. How would a president of a healthcare company that I serve act? How would a builder that, build Whole Foods and that kind of stuff? What if I sat them down and said, hey, I'm thinking about running for the U.S. Senate? How would they react? And we got our answer.
I mean, that's amazing. I know for sure that a lot of people's dreams have been realized because of the input of their friends or loved ones and all of that. Because especially us as guys in our community, our dreams sometimes are much larger than our lives.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yes.
And especially those that we don't share with other people. There are things that I wanted to do when I was little and that I still, I'm like, yeah, I would do that. And nobody even knows. I do it, then they're like, really? And I kind of always wanted to do that, so it's something that's in the back of your mind. It's something that you think you might be good at. But when you start to communicate and share these things, other people are looking at you like, well, why wouldn't you? You're good at that. And you're like, oh, really? Wow. So that's good that she was there. I mean,
humbling for me. It's real humbling. Matter of fact, my wife's exact words were, you're wasting your talent.
Wow. Well, that kind of makes you get up. That you can't not get up after that, because then it's your wife. It's not like you can get away. You're wasting every day.
Right. I mean, how am I supposed to take that? I'm running a successful company in my mind.
I'm paying the bills. I'm doing all of this.
Right. But you're telling me I'm wasting my talent.
Well, I mean, and that's the truth is you had multiple talents before and that's put together to get to where you were. And the thing that I think a lot of us do is we think, okay, I'm here. And it's like, no, you still got more. And there are some people who have talents who we look at them as being so great. But if you talk to them, you would realize they're not doing anything because the talent that they have comes to them so easily. They're still not even working hard. They're just doing what they can do to get by, even if they're making great money. It's not a big thing for them, but they have another talent that's something they have to work on that they have not gotten into. And it's so amazing to see that. So for you, when you came out, it was kind of weird because it was like it just came out of nowhere. It was a lot of talk of, Cruz is going to run for office, or Cruz is even interested in politics or any of that. It was just like, I saw the thing on Facebook, like Cruz is running for Senate. And I was like, okay, this is one of those jokes. You know what I'm saying?
April Fools.
I remember we were in Joey Kibble's wedding.
Yes.
And you said, Brian, I'm running for governor. And I was like, okay. Okay, you got it. We're good. And so I remember telling my sister, and she said, and she lived here, and I didn't live here then. She was like, whatever, he's not running for governor. And I was like, whatever. I was like, I heard him say it. I don't think he's serious, but I need to check. Because it's true. And you know what? You're that kind of guy that it's like, you would tell me and you would smile at me and laugh and it would be true. And I'd be like, oh, okay, so I need to check. But that was the only thing I had ever heard political. And then all of a sudden, I started to see this more and more. And I was like, then we talked. And I was like, wow, he's really going to do this. So
Yeah.
it's are you finding that you have a lot of friends or acquaintances who don't even really know what this is about? Like, what is the Senate? Or, are you finding that there's a lot of things that you have to tell people about it? Or are you finding that most of your people know a lot more about the government?
No, I would say a lot of people, they hear the U.S. Senate, but they don't really know.
Right.
But they know that it's not a small thing to do. So even talking to you, you were like, see, you knew, you were like, Cruz. I mean, did you think about mayor? I mean, did you think about these other items before the U.S. Senate?
Right.
And a lot of people say that, but I find that I have to then explain, okay, this is the U.S. Senate. The deep thing is this: when I tell people why I'm running and what my platform is, they stop asking me why am I running for the U.S. Senate. I find that they go, okay, one, you're serious, and then two, your platform meets the moment.
Right.
It meets what I feel like the moment is.
Right.
So, and then I'll never forget early on, this person was saying, I mean, you should run for this or you should run for that. And I said, I tell you what, and I'm being honest. Once I tell you my platform, if you tell me that it doesn't meet the moment, I won't run for the U.S. Senate.
Wow, that's putting a lot on it.
Good. And I even said, if the others are talking about it,
right,
I'll stop today.
Wow.
And I meant every word. And after I was done, it was like, no, you got to run. And see, that's what I would get.
And that's what you need. There's always, even after you start to do something, there's always something that continues to validate you and keeps you moving. And when you start to realize, I don't really have another choice, this is what I need to do, then, you're done. So we're going to take a commercial. When we come back, I want you to let them know about your platform. All right. So let's take a commercial. We'll be right back, people, with Marcellus Cruz, who is running for U.S. Senate.
Hey, it's Tawana here, full-time entrepreneur, full-time mom. I'm here to tell you that having Brian, or should I say Mr. Watts, as a resource for my son throughout his high school years has been extremely instrumental in making sure he got and stayed scholarship ready. Even now, as a freshman in college, my son knows that Mr. Watts is just a call away. So you want someone in your child's life that has the experience that Brian brings. You want someone who has the relatability factor that Brian brings. You need someone like this on your child's team. It takes a village, and it is great to have Mr. Watts as a part of your village.
All right, everybody, we are back, and I want y'all to hear this and listen. If you're in this area of Maryland, and this will be your person in the Senate, then I need you to really take heed to this. But I want everybody to listen, to understand the platform, and so you can start pushing for people that have the platform that you agree with. You might not even have thought of some of these things. But they may be things that are lacking in your community. So something you might want to bring up, because truthfully, we are the ones that run the government. If we talk to our people, these are our senators and our representatives who speak on behalf of us, then we can let them know what we need and they can lobby for us. So go ahead, Cruz, let them know what exactly your platform is so we can get some votes here.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna come from this train of thought. I'm gonna connect some dots for people. Did you know that the states with the highest dropouts have the highest crime? Okay, let's start there. That's crime. Did you know that 75% of all inmates in prison dropped out of school? Okay, so there's that institution. Did you know that in the state of Maryland, last year, 8.5 or 0.3 dropped out of school? That's over 10,000 young kids. See, 8.5 sounds small, but that's over 10,000 young kids who dropped out of school. Now, what does that represent? That represents close to $1 billion of income not realized. That represents loans not realized. That's banks. That represents cars not purchased. That represents the economy, money going into the economy, consumer spending. What I'm trying to do is show people that crime is not this elusive, I don't know where it comes from, it's complicated. Our economy is not complicated either. There's an economic engine, that's consumer spending, the federal government spending, net exports, and then businesses investment. And so think about it. If those young people are not being educated, they're not going into the workforce to help companies like mine to grow, or not. They're not even starting new companies. Right. With that being said, I realized that we're under what we call the college career readiness standard. That's what most stuff kind of filters through, you know. And so therefore certifications, a lot of those young people don't realize them until what, 11th or 12th grade, until they're graduating. And so that means that we're waiting way too late because young people dropping out before high school. So what I have come up with in my platform, and I'm champion, is I would say another pathway to success. I call it the PP standard, prepared professional. So what we do, and this can start before, K through 12, but K through 12, I would like to make the curriculum standard STEM, life skills, financial literacy, and certifications. Starting in 6th grade, young people should be able to become a professional. They should be able to start getting the certification and then do apprenticeships with small businesses. My point here is I want small business to come to education the same way we do sports. Right. They're looking at our young people. They're helping them matriculate. They're giving them the information. By the time that young kid is in high school, they have several or a few certifications, and they're now doing part-time work at these local companies. Right. But they're getting experience, right? They're learning, is this where I want to go in life? They're also figuring out this is what I can make. Right. When a young person is engaged, they learn differently. I want to transform our whole economy. Most people don't realize when I'm saying this, that would transform our entire economy. Why? Because now by the time that young kid graduates, it's not just a diploma. That young kid is now certified a professional in whatever they're doing. They've been matriculating through it. We're not now talking about go out and find a job. Right. These are young kids now coming out already working, and now they're being offered a full-time job, being paid way more than $40,000 a year. Okay? We're talking about now a lot of them making 6 figures. I call it building our own Silicon Valley here. And I'm not just talking about IT jobs. I'm talking about dental hygienists. I'm talking about, engineers. I'm talking about office workers. I'm talking about whatever it is that kid desires to do, they would be able to go off in that certification and do. This brings down crime. This expands our unions and small businesses in a way that they've never seen before. Right. We are currently have 10.8 million jobs not being filled right now. I was in a debate yesterday, and someone said, well, we can create the jobs that these young people can go. We already have the jobs. Right. It's just that they're not qualified.
The workers, not create the jobs. Let's create workers. Right?
Listen, that workforce people are the fuel to the engine. I talked about the engine earlier. The engine to the economy, it's people that fuel that. So if you get the right fuel, that engine, oh my goodness, it'll start really moving. This is why Main Street sometimes never feel, what the markets are doing. Yeah. Because they're like, listen, I'm living check to check. Right. Or listen, I don't know how I'm gonna get my kid into college. Right. Well, I want to take that whole thing away from them. I want them to see that kid is already making money, good money, helping pay the bills at home. Right. They're saving money for if they want to go and matriculate through college.
Right.
Less student debt. See, we're talking about a lot of dots being connected because we're getting these young minds interested into something. That now eliminates the whole thing of, so fentanyl is just coming through the border, right? It's just coming through the border. I want to eliminate the population that would desire it.
Right.
If we can't stop it from coming, let's eliminate those who would want to even partake. And we know a mind that is set on course. Hey, I want to be this. I want to be that. Fentanyl. I don't have time for that.
Right. No, that's definitely true. And it's always talked about in sports, but never in academia. Oh, girls that play sports don't do this and don't do that. I'm like, but what about girls that just go to school? I mean, why can't we do that part? So yeah, that's big. That's big. I like it.
I want to just loop this around for those who are listening. There's an organization called Build.org. They've been doing what I'm talking about, the type of curriculum I'm talking about, for the last 25 years. Okay. Now, I'm going to give some numbers here. State of Maryland graduation rate is at 86%. That's for everybody. When it comes to Black and brown, well, that was last year. Black and brown, it was 76.7% graduation. Build.org graduation rate for Black and brown is 96% for Black and brown. What does that tell you? One size does not fit all. Right. We have to create other pathways. Some kids learn differently. Some kids need a different. I was just talking to a parent yesterday that's saying that this one size fit all is not working. College career readiness standard doesn't work for everybody. We've got to have, and some people say, oh no, but we have it. No, we don't. We do not have it. It is time to make it a standard thing. And I guarantee you, poverty-stricken areas, all of a sudden, you'll start seeing growth there.
Right. Now, I mean, it's not just that it's not working. It's not being worked. You know what I'm saying? That's another part of it. So you're looking at not just changing a system, but saying, let's work the system we have. Whatever system it is, let's work it. Because it's not being worked. And you're talking to an educator. I mean, so any teacher that I know who hears what you're saying is probably going to be like, oh, vote for him. Because we're for real, because it's a scary thing to be in a school watching kids who are graduating with nothing to do, or watching kids who are dropping out and what they're going out there to do. Because from what you just said, there are two ways that they're hurting the country. One, they're not filling the jobs and they're not paying into the system. That's us for our government. And two, if they're into crime, they're taking away from people. And so that's a double whammy.
That's a triple, right?
Right. I mean, and it can compound after that. You got schools here that are giving away, community colleges giving away free years and all of that. You're telling me that a kid coming out with a certification and then going to community college for an associate's degree in certain fields, that could be all they need to do. And they could be, even if they're not making six figures, a kid coming out of high school making $60,000 a year is insane.
It's insane. That's my point.
And for us, it's very insane because we came out begging for 30, like, please, just let me get 30, So, and that was out of college.
Right.
So, I mean, it's amazing with the way things cost now to have, you're right. I seriously believe that a kid who knows something is going to come out of this is going to continue in it. A kid who does multiple certifications knows, regardless of what happens to me, I have something I can do. So even if I'm a football player or a basketball player, I still got this certification. So I can go and play and do everything I want to do. And as that doesn't become my job, I can still do the job that I have. And that's a wonderful thing. I mean, I seriously want, if you're in the Maryland area, people, please listen to this platform and get behind this, because it's going to change education. It's going to change student loans. it's going to change some parents, because I guarantee you, one of my things that I've said for years is when we continue to educate students past their parents, we're creating another problem. And so I think that the more you educate these students, the more the parents will say, hey, what is that? Okay, let me get into that. You know,
and that's what I want to do, because I want to get a lot of parents off of welfare.
Right.
Now I'm running as a Democrat saying that. Okay. Wow. I want to be very intentional here. I'm a Democrat running saying, I'm not saying let's get rid of welfare.
Cool.
I'm saying there's a lot of people on it who are begging, well, help me get I don't want to stay on this the rest of my life.
Right.
So help me get off of this system so that somebody who really needs it can be here.
Right. Somebody who doesn't have any other choice. Right. And so the thing is, what I've done, and I mean, I haven't had the platform you have, but I think what I've thought about, like, sort of complements your program, because if we have schools that are doing what you're saying, offering certifications, then we can easily have night school for parents to come to. Easily. And that way, it's the same school. It's the same computers. It's the same everything. So now teachers can say, oh, well, now my part-time job is still at my school. I teach the parents at night. I do this, you know what I'm saying? And so then that educates a community. So now the state of Maryland will no longer have close to the lowest math scores in the country. They will. I mean, like I said, I'm a math teacher, so I'm feeling all of this, dude. This is my thing. I almost want to run for Senate now. I want to be back up. Let me go out there and tell them what's up, because and education is the key to everything else. Education, what I found out years ago, because I wasn't a fan of politics for a long time, and I would tell people after I became a teacher and stuff, I don't want to be involved in all this political stuff. They said, well, you're in the wrong industry. I said, what do you mean? It's like, after the military, education is probably one of the biggest line items in the political budget. You're in politics. And I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. So I started paying attention. Because when you're a teacher, you don't know that there's that much money in education, because you're not getting it. So it meant a lot for me to start paying attention and seeing what was going on and how programs were being started but not fully funded, and so they're falling off, and all of that. So now I think that I think you got a good thing going. I mean, that alone is enough for me to say, oh yeah, I'd have to
take a look. So I want to round off the education piece, because I don't want to stop with K through 12 or even adults who need more education. I want to bring this system into our correctional facilities. It is time to bring back rehabilitation. Okay. And as a country now, let's say I do the math on that. Right. We're talking billions of dollars of lost wages, lost taxes, you name it. When an inmate goes in, and so let me kind of tie this to politics, because a lot of people say, oh, I mean, you're talking about education a lot. Well, politics is education. Right. So when you have all of these young people going in, and why they're going in, because now we're cracking down on crime. Okay. Right. Maryland just passed its crime bill, basically. And now we're about to lock up a lot of people. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm not saying we don't bring down the hammer. Hammer has to come down. Kids out there wilding out. But once they go in, my thing is to be mandated that they get certifications, right, and they get financial literacy courses. Why? Because us spending the money on that is the return on investment is huge. Right. When they come out, we're doing job placement. We're not just leaving it to the whim. We start doing job, because there's a lot of companies that will sign up and say, hey, we're looking for this, we're looking for that, we're looking for HVAC, we're looking, and now they can see the demand and go, you know what, I'm gonna become an HVAC specialist, right, I'm gonna become an electrician, or I'm gonna become a dental hygienist, right, whatever it is that they want to become. They're now signing up for cybersecurity. Right. All of a sudden, it's sustainable, meaning crime came down. It's not going to spike all crazy back up once you start letting these people out and the dropout rate hits it all of a sudden, that's how crime goes back up.
Wow.
When I studied this, Brian, it's like, I don't know if God was like, you've got the type of mind that will grasp this, but I'm looking at everyone and I'm like, who's in office? And I'm like, I don't care what else is happening. You should be laser focused on this. This is how crime gets going.
Why we get too busy? People get too busy doing all the other things that are going on, and they don't realize what it would take to change the future. A lot of us are satisfied and just like, oh, I'm just going to find a way to work through this. And so that's just a whole hum of life where you're just like, people have accepted their lot and like, yeah, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm going to do. And it's sad because truthfully, like you're saying, there's so many ways we could change this, and you're going to kill recidivism in prisons and all of that. Then, because truthfully, unless you run a prison, you don't want people to keep having to go to prison. You want them to stop. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want a prison. So I want the people who belong there to go there, but I don't want them to have to. If there's a way, a lot of crimes, I think, and this is just my opinion, a lot of crimes are crimes of necessity.
Yes.
And so if we can eliminate those, then we've changed our community altogether. If there are people who just want to be criminals, okay, then the jail there is for you.
That's where I'm at. I'm not, so one lady says, well, your utopia world. I'm not trying to create a utopia world. What I'm trying to do is meet the moment.
Right.
Remember, I started out by saying the states with the highest dropouts. Well, what about the states that's doing really well and they're figuring this thing out? Well, they're meeting the moment. And so it is time for us to meet the moment.
I feel you.
That's all I'm trying to do. Those who want to be career criminals, hey, do your thing.
and we'll catch you as well. But that I can't. And I don't want to educate you into being a better criminal. So,
there's another piece of this, Brian. I just want to answer just in case anybody.
Yeah, come on, give it to me.
I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and somebody said to me, "Well, you would be a great governor," or "Well, you'd be a great education czar." I'm running for the U.S. Senate because my platform is education, innovation, and service.
Okay.
There's a lot of stuff that we need to innovate. Okay. There's a lot of things that I believe that my mindset can help our government understand and move through. Cybersecurity, consumer protections when it comes to AI. That's going to be coming down the pike. They're afraid to touch it, but I come from this world. Right. I think I can help them learn how to touch it. A lot of our social media companies are now going into healthcare.
Right.
And so I think I can help there. I believe that we can protect people while not, pushing down innovation. We want innovation. We want to grow. And so we need specialists there who understands this economy, understands what it means to be an innovator. Right. And so that is what the bigger piece. But how can I get to all of that if the underbelly is wrong? So I looked this up. Back in the 40s and 50s, we were doing trade schools and we were doing all this stuff. It goes away, and then in the 80s we bring it back. Sixth graders were getting certifications. And then we do away with it again. And guess who picks it up? Now, this is where we started our conversation. Guess who picks this up and continue for the next, 20 years plus?
Who is that?
Information technology, IT, picks up the ball and says, you know what? Certifications will be our thing. This is how we test our people.
Right.
And this is how we open up the jobs. A 13, 14-year-old can get a high-paying job if they got the certifications. And so that's who's been doing it for the last 2 decades, the IT world. We understand this world. You don't have to have a master's. You don't have to have your doctors. But if you're going to be a network guy, you can go get your networking certifications, you know? And so when you get a certification, we now know not that you learn somewhat of what it, no, you know the job. A certification means that you know that job in and out. You've had the practicum, you have tasted it and touched it, you know it. And so my thing is, as a U.S. Senator, I would be on the federal level helping. And then remember, I represent the state for its interests. I need to bring my butt back. The U.S. Senator used to, when it was first created, work in the state and help, you know, both sides. And that's my thing. I think that we pass stuff in Congress, it comes back here, and it dies in the counties. Great programs, money just is blown. And my thing is, let's stop doing that. Let's if I pass something that is on any of these lines, the counties that need it the most, we need to implement it. The other counties that are doing well in the education field, we're not going to force them to add another pathway if they don't want. But the counties that really are hurting, we got to make sure that this gets lifted up, all red tape moved, and we get this thing off and going.
That's man. Listen, I'm excited about that. I was ready to move out of Maryland, but if that starts to happen as an educator, that's someplace I'd want to be. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like a great thing. So this is what my biggest question is, and I mean, I didn't know how much you were going to come out with all of this. I'm really impressed. How has it been? Because we know politics. The biggest complaint our community has is that people get in and they don't serve our community. That's what we hear. So it's always true. There have been some things that have served our community, but people feel like, you know, we want Black people in or brown people in because we need somebody to serve our interests. Now, what you're talking about now is definitely our interest. But how has it been so far with you moving in this line, being a Black male attempting to move and sort of shake in this area that is not, you know, dominated by Black males? How has that worked out for you?
That's a very good question, and I'm gonna try not to get myself in trouble, but I'm that type of person. I like to answer the questions. I believe that character is everything, and skill set is everything.
Okay.
If I did not have the skill set or the character, I think I would have probably given up a while back. But because I have the character and the skill set, nothing really scares me. The media, I found the media certain, you know what, let me be very specific. Certain parts of the media to be biased.
Okay.
To have blinders on. And they go with, you know, what their set agenda is. And what's scary is because before I got into politics, you know, running for office, I would hear Donald Trump say, you know, fake news, right? And that used to burn me up. Yeah, well, you know, fake news. I mean, we need the media.
Right.
But now that I've been in it, I heard myself saying, that's fake news. You know, I was in my first, and I'll say this, I was in my first debate, right? I came into this race a little later. And so I got into my first debate, and, you know, everybody there at the debate, everybody who, you know, that I'm talking to, I even watched the debate back, right? And then I see news reports of the debate. And I had to say to myself, that is fake news. They're not even reporting what happened at the debate.
Wow.
Then I go to a conservative. I was the only Democrat that showed up at a conservative debate with all the other U.S., you know, Senate candidates on the GOP side. I was the only Democrat that showed up for that debate. They reported that debate accurate.
Wow. That's sad. That's well, obviously The other Democrats knew something you didn't know. they didn't come to that. That's wild.
It's wild to me because then I went back to another Democratic debate in Baltimore, and once again, we looked at the report. I mean, our people showed up. They had shirts on. You knew that there was a presence there for Marcellus Cruz. Marcellus Cruz answered every question, had passion, talked about this platform. So if I'm talking about this platform, Brian,
right,
and I'm talking with the passion that I wasn't scared, wary. And then the reports come out with a whole nother headline. You would go, wait a minute, were we at the same debate? I mean, what did I miss something? People even calling you up saying, wait a minute, I just read the report. They barely mentioned you. They're talking about something else. It made me realize that we have a paid media that does not report the news.
Right.
And people need to know that.
Right.
And if they continue, I'll be doing the Donald Trump.
But I feel you. I feel you on what you're saying, because the media here is either one side or another. And you don't really see it until you get into a position like you're in, or until you do like I did, where I went and lived abroad for 2 years. And I was hearing stuff over there that was just seemingly being reported, not an agenda. It's just the news. This is what happened. I'm like, wow, this sounds so much different than what I hear at home, you know? And now that you have other kinds of shows, night shows and daily news, shows that, what's the show called? The Daily Show, you know, you got shows that are like news, but they're comedy. Everything can go whatever way they want it to go. You may never hear just the news reported as the news. You either hear it as a joke, or you hear it from an agenda point of view and all of that. And somebody like you who's new to the game, that's already a clowning point just because you're new. So as far as they're concerned, this dude don't know what he's talking about. And I'm like, you don't have no name. You're not like RFK Jr. or, you know, anything like that.
But you know, you would think that hearing what I'm saying and seeing how the audience react, because the audience would get quiet when I start talking, you would go, wait a minute, something is happening here. That would be the report. Something is happening here. I don't know what. I mean, where did this guy come from? You know, Marcellus Cruz, who is that? You know, it's obviously affecting some people, you know. I guess that's, now I just did a debate yesterday, and it was reported properly.
Okay.
But it was in a conservative, it was in a purple county. I'll say it that way. And the question I have to ask myself is, am I getting better news coverage in purple and red counties than I'm getting in blue counties? You know, what is that about? And you know, they don't care if nobody knows me. They're reporting the news, and they're saying, this is what he said. This is how he said it. This is the crowd reaction. And I guess that's my thing. My thing is, as a nation, we have to be careful. And I believe in all the amendments that were passed. I believe in a free press. I honestly believe that we need our news. And so I've been asking the news, and I'm going to say it on your show, basically report what you see, you know, because we're holding back positive things when we don't report what we see. We're just projecting things that people are tired of, you know. And so that's kind of what I would like to see moving forward when I'm in a straight up blue county, because you know, I'm a Democrat.
I'm with you.
I mean, and I believe that the party can do better. I want to remake this party.
Okay.
You know, so that is that would be the tough. Well, that and raising money are the toughest parts, I think, of running.
Okay.
You know, you really just need all your friends, everybody you ever known to just give $20. And I'm being honest.
No, that's
If
how.
everybody that I've ever known gave me $20, I would not need or want for money.
Wow.
That's how simple it is. But because, oh, this person goes this way, oh, I don't have it. And you're like, okay, but you're going to hit me up the moment I win. I'm going to be the first person that you hit up.
well, they still won't have $20. But I mean, it's still. I mean, if you don't have it, you don't have it. But I feel you. You want to feel that's the way to support right now, and that's what people don't understand. This money is not just. It's not like I'm out there selling candy or popcorn for my basketball team. It's like, hey, I want you to support me so I can do what you need done. If you agree, then find a way to support. So yeah, I feel you on that. And I'll tell you, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I've talked to you, I've talked to Wade, talked to people on your team. So I'm definitely in for support. I live in Maryland, even though I live right across the street from DC. I mean, I live in Maryland. So I'm like, and this affects me. And I'm an educator. You're talking the way we're talking in school every day, especially as older educators who've been in it for a while and is watching it fade out into something that we don't want it to fade into. So I definitely want to see this kind of stuff take place. So I was actually fighting with, there was a friend of ours who we both know. I was trying to get him to introduce me to Westmore. So we got to talk about all of this education stuff. When he first got in, I mean, this was like right after he won. That never materialized, but it's something that I wanted to be a part of because I'm wanting to work in the government as an educational person. I just wanted to see something change because I think that people who are not in education don't really know what's going on in education. No. Like we was when we were in school, and it's not. So I'm definitely behind you. I want to encourage my viewers, especially if you live in Maryland. Definitely check out Marcellus Cruz. Tell them where they can find you. Where can they find your platform and all of the stuff that you're doing and where you're going to be?
Marcellus Cruz, the way it's spelled here, .com. That's that. People can go straight to Marcellus. On that page, you will see some of my latest speeches. You can go to my core beliefs, I believe it's called, or my beliefs, and you can see videos. Now, you don't even have to read. You can watch a video and hear me in my own words break down where I stand. Now, I don't have every last, where does he stand on, fracking, but at my core beliefs are there. Okay. And social media, we're updating twice, sometimes 3 times a day. Some days we might skip one only because of how much data is coming in. Right. I'm running a grassroots campaign. So we're constantly out there.
What does that mean to people? Because a lot of people hear that a lot and they have no idea what that means. What is a grassroots campaign and how does it compare to one that's not?
Okay, so I'll say it this way. One of the people that I'm running against, they have commercials everywhere. Okay, that's not a grassroots campaign. I have money. I'm going to pay for commercials. They'll be everywhere. So I don't have to go work and do that work. Okay. I don't have that kind of money. But even if I did, I would not saturate because I love meeting people. Right. I love shaking hands. So grassroots means that I come out to your counties. I come out to your events. I'm shaking hands. I'm talking to people. They're asking me questions. They can touch the flesh. They can know how real am I sincere, that kind of thing. So grassroots is just that. So when AKAs are having an event, I go to that event. Right. I spend time at that event. I want them to know exactly who I am so that when they go to the polls or when they're telling other people about me, they're like, no. I spent time with them. Right. It wasn't a commercial. It wasn't a great speech that I went and saw. I actually spent time with the man, and I know, or I have a good feel for his heart and what he's trying to do. So that's grassroots. So I'm constantly, now that's a tough thing, but you have to have the skill set, because I'll walk into a barber shop, and just begin. I'll walk into a gala and they'll say, "Hey, you're welcome to our gala." And
Right.
then I'll just go from table to table introducing myself. The good news is we've gotten to a point where somebody will go, "I've seen you,"
Right.
or I saw you, or I heard about you, or something. And so it's beginning to get better. The more you do it, it begins to catch up with you. But there's still a lot of people we got to get to, so we have to get a commercial out
Well, how much
now.
how much
What'd you
time?
say?
How much time is left?
May 14th is election day.
Okay.
So we have about a month and a day, a week
All
or
right.
something like that. And so we've got to get a commercial out. I have recorded the voiceovers for the commercials. I love where that's going. And now we got to put video with the voiceover. Once we have that, it's go time. And my hope is that we'll have enough funds to, it costs, man, radio, TV,
Everything.
digital ads, flyers, yard signs, banners.
Well, this is free, so I'm glad that you're able to do this, because this you're not paying for, unless of course you want to. I won't have a problem with that. But I'm glad that there are things that you can do that are free, and like you said, come across as grassroots, because it's like, okay, there are people who are doing what you're doing who would never get on a show like this, and it's like, why not? Why would you not come on and talk about your viewpoints if you're trying to let people know what's going on? So this is big. This is big. So I'm hoping that it works out for you. I'm behind you. I just got a thing in the mail about voting in the mail today. So I'm like, listen, this is gonna go down. And I'm gonna tell you this: regardless of what happens, I am still behind your agenda. So if you're not in office, then we need to come together and find ways to impress the person in office to still do what you're trying to do. That's die, because that doesn't happen.
And I'll say this, because somebody asked me, "What are you gonna?" I'm in politics now, and I will still continue to help run my company if God forbid, in other words, I want people to see how genuine I am.
Right.
But I plan to run for another office, and I plan to affect change wherever I go. So this is not it for me, no matter what happens. Do I believe I'm supposed to win? Yes. Do I believe the right doors are opening? Yes. Do I believe that the right organizations are now beginning to turn and look my way? Yes. This race is wide open. And what we would so-called the front runners, they've been lukewarm. And one of them actually just made a huge mistake. And so my thing is, if you're looking, which a lot of people are, you've got another guy out there who actually has a platform that I believe and know will meet your needs of what you're looking for.
Right.
And I'm not the guy who's going to get elected and disappear. I'm that guy who's going to show up at your church and help you fundraise. I'm that guy that's going to show up at your kid's school, and your kid come home and says, "I met the U.S. senator." And Brian, you know me. I'm not that guy who's going to be. Remember, I started out by saying this. I don't want to be behind just the desk.
Right.
Come out, and I want to meet people, and I want to help people in any way I can.
Yeah, you've trained for this before you even knew this was an option. Yeah, you're definitely that type of guy, and I want to see that happen. So listen, good luck to you. Thank you so much for coming out with us today. Viewers, please take this into heart. I mean, check him out. Talk to your friends. If you live in Maryland, if you don't, talk to your friends that live in Maryland, your family, everybody. Let them know about Marcellus Cruz and what he is trying to do for the state of Maryland, and then go talk to your senator and see why they're not doing that for your state as well. So thanks so much, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Come Together is on most weeks. This is our second season. We're trying to continue to show off positive Black males in our community. So we appreciate you, and we will definitely be following you and letting people know what's going on with you.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
All right,
Love the show.
no doubt. Thanks a lot. Take it easy.
All right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that that is something that you really take to heart. I mean, politics is so important right now. We've been traumatized with a lot of things that we've seen in politics, but when you find a candidate that actually has your best interest at heart, it's really important to get behind them, support them, and even talk to them. Because even though they're supporting you and your interest, they might not have every single thing together. There might be some other things they need to hear to help them out. There might be some ways you can aid them, and some things that you can do to help their campaign roll and to help them as they're in office. So take heed to all of that. Follow him. Go to marcelluscruz.com. Check everything out and see what he's doing for our community. That's our show for this week. I will see you later. This is Brian J.T. Watt signing out.